Welcome and thank you for joining me. Today, we continue our Foundations series by turning our eyes toward the heavens, to the great planets that have shaped humanity's imagination for thousands of years. Long ago, when the world was quieter, people lived in constant dialogue with the elements. They cultivated the earth, they listened to the water, they gathered around fire, they breathed with the wind. And then, one day, someone looked upward. The sky answered. What had seemed an endless blue vault by day revealed itself, at night, to be alive with wandering lights, silent travelers moving along invisible paths. Unlike the fixed stars, they refused to remain in place. They appeared. They disappeared. They wandered across the heavens. People called them planets, wanderers, living lights carrying their own temperaments, their own stories, their own destinies. Imagine an ancient shepherd noticing that one brilliant star lingered unusually long before dawn, or a priestess watching a radiant light become the promise of long-awaited rain. To them, these were never accidents. The heavens were a text, written in symbols, and so the planetary gods were born, not as abstract names, but as living personalities, magnificent, dangerous, bringing both gifts and trials to the human world. The sun. The first among them is the sun, the blazing chariot of Helios, lord of the day. Its myths shine with light itself. Within the Mesopotamian tradition, the sun appears as Shamash, the divine judge. Each morning he rises from the underworld, scattering darkness, revealing hidden crimes, and restoring warmth to the world. The sun grants visibility, strength, purpose, but every gift carries responsibility. To stand in the light is also to become visible. Throughout myth, the solar gods rarely grant power without demanding maturity in return. When the sun reveals its darker face, its fire burns not the body, but the destiny of the soul. Its light tears away disguises. Hidden corruption emerges. Old masks fall away. Pride, vanity, greed, all become flames demanding their price. In that consuming fire, a distorted order may arise. Power without compassion, authority without warmth, victory purchased at the cost of the human heart. Mercury. Close to the sun, bathing in its brilliance, moves swift Mercury. The eternal messenger, weaving together words, thoughts, and destinies. Along the sun's radiant paths, he transforms commerce into fate, conceals meaning within symbols, and opens hidden roads between worlds. In Mesopotamia, he was known as Nabu, the divine scribe, keeper of sacred names. In Egypt, he became Thoth, guardian of wisdom, language, and sacred measure. His gifts are quick intelligence, eloquence, adaptability, and the remarkable ability to transform thought into action. Yet every gift carries its own temptation. Wisdom can become cleverness. Words become traps. Promises become tangled webs. Thoughts dissolve into self-deception, and the fastest road may lead toward the deepest abyss. Mercury teaches us the art of language, while quietly reminding us that speaking quickly is not the same as speaking truthfully. When Mercury turns toward his shadow, language becomes manipulation. Thought becomes self-sabotage. His winding roads lead only to confusion. Promises become betrayal. Messages become deception. Knowledge dissolves into endless connections that no longer carry meaning. And amid that relentless storm of communication, the quiet dialogue between the self and the world is slowly drowned by the noise of illusion. The moon. The moon is the mirror of the soul, guardian of rhythms, dreams, and quiet transformations. In the Sumerian tradition, she appears as Nana, the keeper of months, the measurer of time, and the silent witness of destiny. In the legends of the North, her silver path whispers through dreams and wandering shadows. The moon teaches us to listen, to the rhythms of the body, to memory, to sleep, and to the quiet voice of intuition. Her power is gentle, yet profoundly deep. Beneath her light, vows are spoken, secrets are revealed, and inspiration often arrives hand in hand with uncertainty. Yet every moon casts its own shadow. When the moon rises from the depths of the unconscious, the shoreline of the mind begins to dissolve. The rhythms of memory become shifting sands. Under her cold silver light, anxiety awakens. Longing returns. Forgotten images rise to the surface. Intuition loses its clarity, and the soul drifts through a labyrinth of illusion. Few myths embody this darker mystery more vividly than those surrounding Selene. The night becomes a prison of recurring dreams, and the heart a mirror reflecting not itself, but the shadow of another. Venus is the brilliant star that appears at dawn and again at twilight, the eternal enchantress, the muse, the giver of beauty. In Mesopotamia, she was worshipped as Ishtar, in Canaan as Astarte, in Greece as Aphrodite. Her myths speak of fertility, love, desire, and creation, but also of temptation, the price of beauty, and the longing from which true art is born. Venus reminds us that creation cannot exist without desire, and that love has always demanded courage. To love, to create, to dream, to bring new life into the world, to leave behind something greater than memory alone. Yet Venus also possesses a darker face. She becomes the beautiful widow whose sweetness slowly turns to poison. Love transforms into possession. Admiration becomes dependence. Beauty becomes obsession. Within her shadow, flowers decay without losing their elegance, and the heart ceases to reflect the beloved, seeing only its own longing. Mars. Mars is the force that never waits, the fire that moves forward, the god of courage, conflict, and decisive action. In Babylon, he was known as Nergal, lord of war, burning heat, and relentless advance. His power never asks permission. It does not wait for perfect circumstances. It simply moves. And because of that, Mars became the eternal symbol of will, determination, and the strength to overcome resistance. The Greeks knew him as Ares. Across every culture, the myths of Mars are filled with fierce resolve. Yet Mars is not merely the fury of battle. He is the courage to act, the power to cut through obstacles, the determination to change one's destiny. Still, the myths carry an enduring warning. Strength without wisdom becomes destruction. Courage without measure becomes violence. When Mars reveals his chthonic face, heroism disappears. Only blind rage remains. Action becomes aggression. Initiative becomes self-destruction. Where Mars rules without restraint, courage is consumed by bloodshed, and struggle loses all purpose, until one is left fighting against one's own destiny. Jupiter, beyond the fiery path of Mars, another great wanderer radiates a very different kind of power. Jupiter, the archetype of sovereignty, expansion, abundance, and opportunity. Across the ancient world, many cultures gave him different names. Yet throughout the Near East, one name echoed more often than most. Baal-Hadad, lord of the storm, bringer of rain, protector of fertile lands. His victory over Mot, the god of death, became the triumph of life itself. The promise that the earth would awaken once more, bringing harvest instead of famine. He raises humanity toward prosperity, yet never allows us to forget the price of pride. For this reason, Jupiter became the symbol of fortune, influence, authority, and success, but also of excess, overconfidence, and the temptation to believe oneself greater than one's own limits. In Babylon, this same current found expression in Marduk, the lawgiver, the protector of order, the bestower of victory. His myths remind us that power without balance always carries the seed of its own downfall. Jupiter grants opportunity, but he also tests ambition. When Jupiter turns toward his shadow, abundance becomes greed, generosity becomes excess, authority becomes entitlement. Ambition expands beyond wisdom until nothing is ever enough. And in that kingdom of limitless appetite, great success often becomes the first step toward an even greater fall. For when the giant collapses, everything that has grown beneath his shadow falls with him. Saturn, the last of the great wanderers, moves more slowly than all the others. Saturn, guardian of time, keeper of boundaries, silent, patient, unmoved. For countless generations, people associated Saturn with time, yet not merely the time measured by clocks or by the changing of the seasons. Saturn speaks of another kind of time, the time that slowly draws us away from the outer world and toward the inner one, the time of contemplation, the time of solitude, the time in which the deepest transformations take place unnoticed within the human soul. Among the Canaanites, this current appeared as Shalim, the god of the evening star, of peace, well-being, and quiet fulfillment. In later esoteric traditions, his image gradually evolved into Lucifuge Rofokal, not as a lord of terror, but as the guardian of silence, the silence in which a person is finally left alone with themselves, the silence in which one no longer studies the world, but begins to study one's own shadow. Yet Saturn, like every great archetype, possesses another face. In Greek myth, it is Kronos, the devourer, the tyrant of time, the fear of losing power, the desperate attempt to preserve yesterday by sacrificing tomorrow. Here, time no longer heals. It erodes. Laws become chains. Patience becomes resignation. Hope slowly turns to ash. Under Saturn's shadow, one may spend an eternity paying for a single mistake. And yet, Saturn never ceases to teach. His greatest lesson is patience, for some transformations cannot be hurried. Only time gives them meaning, earth. And yet, among all these celestial wanderers, one world remains unlike the others. Not because it is farther away, but because it is the one upon which we stand. We breathe its air, we walk upon its body. We call it Earth. Earth is far more than the ground beneath our feet. She is ancient, dual, profound, the guardian of both birth and the silence beyond life. As Cybele, the Great Mother, she nourishes the fields, shelters civilizations, and offers the abundance from which cultures grow. Yet in another face, she becomes Ereshkigal, queen of the underworld, the one who receives, holds, and never releases lightly. It is this dual nature that makes Earth both fertile and chthonic. Some roots reach upward, toward the light, others descend into the abyss. Where Cybele inspires growth, Ereshkigal teaches boundaries. She reminds us that every true rebirth demands a price. Sometimes that price is silence, sometimes solitude. Earth gives form, but she also teaches limits. For stability itself, when held too tightly, may become its own prison. When Earth speaks from her deepest depths, she no longer supports. She confines. What should have been a foundation becomes a tomb. Structure hardens into rigidity. The roots of the soul become trapped in the marshes of habit and fear. Intentions turn to stone. Life ceases to move. As centuries passed, People gradually began connecting the planets with metals, stones, plants, colors, and the gods themselves. A new language was born, one that spoke not through numbers, but through stories. Each planet became more than a celestial body. It became an archetype, a living character bringing both gifts and challenges. The myths of the ancient world became humanity's first celestial library. Imagine a temple where, on the night 3 planets align, the high priest mysteriously disappears. Or an old map marking a forgotten valley where rare flowers bloom only beneath the sign of Venus. Who left behind a clay tablet bearing the name of a forgotten god? Why is a strange companion of Saturn carved into the northern wall of an abandoned sanctuary? Questions like these have always stood at the edge of discovery. For curiosity has always been the beginning of wisdom. Little by little, people learned to hear the language of the heavens. They understood that the elements are the hands of the world, the planets, its faces, and mythology, the invisible thread that binds humanity to the cosmos. Hermes Trismegistus once wrote, "Since we live beneath the dominion of the 7 planets, do you not see that the influence of the cosmos reaches us either through the powers of the planets themselves or through those who govern them?" So where should a modern seeker begin? Look upward, with curiosity, but keep your feet firmly upon the earth. Read myths, not as textbooks, but as living works of art. Allow each planetary image to become a mirror for something within yourself. Keep a journal, observe, notice patterns. Build simple associations through color, metal, or symbol. Follow curiosity a little farther each day. Ask questions, for you may discover that the heavens have been answering all along. In our next episode, we'll explore a subject rarely discussed, even among experienced practitioners: the hidden language of color correspondences, a journey through history, symbolism, and the unseen influence of color itself. If today's story has awakened your curiosity, I'd be delighted if you subscribed, shared your thoughts in the comments, and joined me for the next chapter. My name is Desiro. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Keep seeking until we meet again.